Welcome everybody to Red's Ramblings. I have with me today Andrew from over in Britain. Andrew is a business owner as well as a podcast host. Andrew, go ahead and introduce yourself and tell everybody a little bit about you.
Hey, my name's Andrew. I am a businessman, as you say. Well, that makes me sound like I'm wearing a suit, and I'm not. I'm wearing a heavy metal band T-shirt. I'm
Okay.
I'm also a musician and a writer, and as you say, I do podcasting and generally skirt around the world, trying not to get in too much trouble.
It's hard sometimes, isn't it?
It's hard when the world's so full of fun things.
Very true. I've yet to do that, but I would love to at some point. Though world part, not the trouble part. Little danger, but not like getting arrested danger. I would like to steer clear of that.
You've got to draw a line somewhere. There's plenty of
do.
fun things to do without getting in trouble with the law. Although, whereabouts in the States are you?
South Carolina.
Oh, right. No, I've not been to South Carolina. I've been as far as Virginia. That's about as close as I've got, which is probably miles away, isn't it?
Yeah, it's a few states up north, yes.
See, a few states where you are, that could be like 1,000 miles. In Britain, you can't go.
It probably is.
In Britain, do you know you can't go more than 75 miles without ending up in the sea? Really? From anywhere in Britain, if you draw a straight line from where you are to the sea, it's never more than 75 miles.
I think it's like our closest from where I am, the closest beach is like 100-something miles.
Oh, that's not too bad.
The closest one. No, yeah, it's about 2.5 hour drive, depending.
I always thought it would feel really claustrophobic in some parts in the middle of America, kind of being so far away from the sea.
I'm sure it is. Like, I know my grandparents live in Wyoming, which is pretty northern Midwesty. A lot of farmland, a lot of nothing over there. And so anytime they visit, their first thing is a seafood spot. Because you don't really get it over there. Not like, because again, we are so close to the ocean. We got some pretty fresh seafood compared to, like in the middle of the country where you have to go with like a day trip, travel and all that kind of stuff to get to the ocean. So I'm sure that does happen. Yes. So for you, you're a business owner. You said you do marketing. What type of market? Because that encompasses so much.
It does. A lot of it stems from kind of being a musician and being a creative person. So a lot of marketing I do is writing. I do a lot of writing. I've kind of written books, and I do most of my writing now for clients, which I enjoy. I write about kind of a wide range of things. So it's kind of spreading the word. We call it content marketing, but really it's just talking. It's talking with words, which is generally the best way. So talking
right? Kind of how that works.
Yeah, I've done a lot of talking with words today, so some of the words have dropped out my ass a bit.
That makes complete sense. I understand. It's a long day for you. And so you do music as well, and you have a metal band T-shirt. What band is that? May I see it?
It is Wolfheart, which is a
Never heard of that one.
Well, it's a Finnish band. Obviously, we're quite close to Scandinavia here in Britain, although Finland isn't a part of Scandinavia, as I found out recently. So I went to Sweden a while ago and Denmark, and the kind of cliches we were expecting were completely true. You walk around in Sweden. I was in a place called Malmo, and all the guys are wearing metal band T-shirts.
Yeah,
and it really is. It was everything I could have dreamed of, kind of as a metal fan, but. Kind of my own music. Well, all the guys look like Vikings,
right?
And it's a cool place, but I kind of don't make much metal myself. I'm a bassist, so I'm a bit of a jobbing musician. So I kind of turn up wherever a bassist is needed, which is usually a lot of places because no one
wants to do it.
No, I was going to say no one ever starts off wanting to be a bassist. If I could give anyone advice who want to spend a lot of time playing in bands, it's play bass, because no one else wants to.
I'm a metalhead as well, so That's awesome. Yesterday I had a podcast with a guy from Norway, fellow metalhead as well. But me and my wife 2-3 days ago, we were at a restaurant and we were eating, and I don't know how we got on the subject of music and that's another story, but I'll get into it. But we got on the subject of bass playing because me and my friend growing up, I used to write a whole bunch.
Oh,
and I
cool.
would write songs, and he was a guitarist, right? And so we started to make our own band. Didn't go anywhere, but we had a drummer. He was a guitarist, and I was the songwriter slash singer at the time. But we couldn't find a bassist,
Mm.
because again, no one wants to the famous the ones that get the girls, you could say, are the guitarists or the lead singer, and obviously the drummer is the heart, the
Mm.
backbone of the band, in my opinion. But the bassist is never really, unless you're Lemmy from Motorhead, or Gene Simmons. Not many people know a bassist by name because they're kind of like in the background, and you don't really hear them unless you really know what you're listening for.
No,
So
and unless it's Lemmy, then he's so loud you can't hear anything else. Or he
yeah.
was so loud. I think even if people who are really into metal probably don't know that some of the singers they like are bassists. Like I've forgotten his name, but the dude from Slayer. I think if you say to a lot of people, "Oh, he plays bass in Slayer,"
Oh, yeah, I'm looking at his face right now.
it's
Yeah.
appalling that we've both forgotten, isn't it?
At least we know what we're talking about, though. We still do know. We just don't remember the name.
We do. Although I
Um,
went to go and see Slayer a few years ago in a place called well, we call it Ali Pali. It's Alexandra Palace in London. It's a huge
uh-huh.
place, and they played Rain in Blood, and
Yeah.
I'd never heard it. So
Really?
yeah, I went to go watch Sleep was supporting like a sort of real stoner metal band,
Uh-huh.
and Slayer came on. I had no idea what was happening. It was like an assault. I'd never seen anything like it. Everyone
Yeah.
around me was going absolutely nuts. Yeah, it was quite an
Yes.
experience.
Yes. I've never been to a concert, sadly. Definitely not a metal concert. Where I live in South Carolina, you have to like travel to like the big city like Atlanta or
Mm.
Charlotte to really get that. I was just fine, even though I would love to do it. Like I would love to see Rammstein one
Oh
time,
wow, yeah.
right? Because they are extremely theatrical. I love seeing Metallica one time at least. Rob Zombie would be great as well.
Mhm.
I think if I had my number one would be Rammstein, just because their presence on stage is phenomenal.
They
If you
are.
watch their live shows, it's like
I've not
it's a show in itself.
I've not been to one myself, but I've got friends who have been dragged along to see Rammstein, and come away complete fans, having kind of never heard
Yes.
anything. It's kind of making me, speaking to you, making me realize how fortunate we are in the UK. I mean, because London it's like an hour train journey, although it
Yeah.
costs, let me work this out, an hour train journey costs about $180 in
Okay.
the UK. So it's a lot of money to get to London, but once you're there, the amount of concerts. I've got a
Yeah.
deal going with some of my bandmates where I don't really drink, so I'm happy to drive us to a gig
Yeah.
if they buy me a ticket. And through that, I've recently saw Deaf Heaven just last year, and Opeth. Have you heard Opeth?
Oh yeah.
Opeth,
Opeth. Oh
yeah,
yeah.
that was just unbelievable. Again, I stood there
Yes.
having never heard them, and it was like being in a church. I looked around, everyone
Right.
else there was worshiping, completely
Yes.
kind of like, and I just thought, this is something good here. I've discovered something kind of amazing. But no,
If you do, no, go ahead. Finish that.
that was it. I was just going to say, if anyone listening to this hasn't heard Opeth, then go have a
Do it.
look. Yeah.
Do it. If you don't mind, how old are you? If you don't mind me asking.
Oh, that's a game. Do you want to have a guess?
Okay. Well, facially, you don't look that old, but hair wise,
My
you're
white
absolutely
hair.
white. You are absolutely white up there. So I'm gonna guess mid-40s.
Ah, spot on. I'm 44.
Boom.
No,
Okay.
nobody gets that normally. They normally kind of either think I'm much older. In fact, one of only two times I've been to the States, I was really
Mhm.
pleased when I was in Massachusetts, and I was
Okay.
really pleased that everywhere I went, I got asked for ID for buying liquor, and I was. No, but I was proper pleased, thinking it meant they thought I looked under 21. But no, it turns out
Yeah.
it's the law. They ask
Yeah.
everybody.
They kind of have to.
I
They kind
felt
of
good
have
for a
to.
while though.
Oh yeah, I'm sure. So I mean, this is my show. I know we're here to talk about your country and Britain and whatnot, but this is my show. I can do what I want. I want to stay in the metal subject right now. You have a band, you said.
I have several bands, yeah. I mean, there's the band I play in most of the times is called These Are End Times,
Okay.
and we are kind of like, have you heard Swans? Bands like
No.
that? Godspeed You Black Emperor?
I that sounds familiar. It sounds
Basically,
familiar.
it's kind of slow and very, very heavy. And we've got
Yes.
a trumpet player and a violinist.
Yes. Yeah,
So
I love orchestral metal. If it
oh,
sounds, yes, that gets my juices flowing so much. I'm like,
I just discovered Nightwish about 2 days ago.
yeah, yes.
I just
Oh
went,
man,
yes.
they are
What?
they are they are great. They are definitely great.
Well, a
What
lot of the music. Go on.
Oh, I was just gonna ask about your other ones. You said you have a few
Yeah,
bands.
I do stuff by myself. I
Hmm.
call it Mar and Scale,
Okay.
and a lot of that is orchestral. When I say electronica, it's not like it's not kind of
Yeah.
like stuff. It's kind of me basically trying to make metal with a computer, drum machines,
Yeah.
and well, orchestral stuff. Because I found through a writing job, I found out how a lot of orchestral metal bands make the music, how they do the
Hmm.
orchestral stuff. I figured they had a load of money and they went to a big warehouse studio
Yeah.
somewhere. No, they don't. It's all kind of software. And I've got a
Hmm.
friend whose his job is he does the orchestration for metal bands.
Okay.
And so he came round to my house and basically showed me some of how to do it. But being a bassist, I struggle with the technical musical side of
Yeah.
it. Because as a bassist, the secret is if you're a bassist in a band, the reason it's such an easy thing to do is you only have to watch the guitarist's finger, and where
Okay.
he puts his main index finger, you put your finger on the same place on your bass, and that's it. There you go. That's how to play
Okay.
bass. So I've never had
Bass
to
play
learn.
101.
Well, it only gets as far as one. I'm not sure if there is an O1 at the
102.
end of it.
All right. Have you heard of Combi Christ?
I know the name. There's. I used to have a record shop a long time ago, and that's where I discovered a lot of the more sort of intense side of
Hmm.
metal. So
Yeah.
loads of bands. I mean, I still hear about them from my dad because my dad lent me some money to open the shop with a friend.
Yes.
And when we had to close up, I didn't have any money and I wanted to pay my dad back. So
Mhm.
I gave him my share of the stock. And for about the last 15 years, he's been selling extreme metal CDs on eBay. So it's this guy who's about
Yeah.
it's about 75 and he's selling
Yes.
extreme metal CDs. And I get these like text messages from him and he'll be like,
Mhm.
Andrew, who are Syphilitic Carnage? And I'm like, well, like Children of Bodom, who are they?
Oh yeah.
Who are Cannibal Corpse? Can you explain them for this
Yes.
so I can put them on an eBay listing?
Oh, I love Children of Bodom. Children of Bodom's really good. I love
It's,
Children of Bodom.
it's that kind of extreme metal is something that I've only kind of got into fairly
Recently.
recently. Yeah, there's this band Death Heaven, and they're a bit of a gateway drug for that
Hmm.
kind of metal. They're kind of, to be honest, they're kind of poppy, really. But you know, with the great thing about a lot of metal is if you try and jump right into stuff like grindcore, you're
Yeah.
going to find it really challenging. But
Yes.
if you kind of go in on a slope down, for example, I said about Nightwish. I played my wife
Hmm.
Nightwish, and she is not a metalhead. But I
Hmm.
played her Nightwish, and she's like, "This is really, really good."
Yeah.
And I said, "Careful, this is like a dealer giving you a doobie, telling you that drugs are safe, and then you're going to find yourself kind of hooked on
Yes.
smack and listening to grindcore in 2 years and trying to sing try like, in the shower trying to sing along with grindcore."
Yeah. That's awesome. That is awesome. I
Hey,
like that.
just thought, speaking of grindcore and that kind of ender metal, you might have heard of. There's a couple of bands from my town who are fairly popular. There's one
Hmm.
called Extreme Noise Terror, who
No.
they kind of invented the grindcore thing, and they were
Really?
on British TV years ago. And there was a band called KLF, and they had a big pop single,
Hmm.
and it did really well. It got to #1, so they were invited on an industry award show. You know, everyone in black ties and whatever. So this
Yeah.
band KLF got my friend's band Extreme Noise Terror to do a grindcore version of the song, and they went on with machine guns firing blanks into the crowd. And I mean, this is wild for, well, it'd be fairly wild now, to be fair.
Yeah. Oh
Um,
yeah.
but so another band from my town you might have heard of, Cradle of Filth.
Yeah.
Yes, I thought that one would. I thought I'd save that in reserve in case you hadn't heard the others.
No, I have. I'm pulling up Extreme Noise Terror now. Okay, I've never heard of this name. Never heard of it. They have like at least the lead. I'm guessing that's the lead singer.
Yeah, that's Dean.
He has like a little punky vibe, punky look to him, at
What
least.
over here, a lot of the extreme metal is there's sort of no
Well,
separation between that and the punk scene, really. I mean,
really?
the punk scene's where I come from, big time, very much
Oh,
what my background is.
okay, okay.
Then
I'll
you,
take a listen to him definitely after we're done here.
but you always
I'll
want
take a
something
listen to him.
with punk, you always want something a little harder and a little kind of
Yes,
punchier, and that's how everyone ends up as metalheads when they kind of get into
right.
punk. But
No, that's very true.
but the two scenes here are interchangeable, completely the same. I mean, I've played a lot around Britain in punk bands, and
Hmm.
it's always metal bands and punk bands together. We're kind of like brothers, as it were.
Yes. You say you write as well. What kind of stuff do you write about?
When I write fiction, I write funny stuff. Well, it's stuff I
Okay.
think's funny. My first
Yeah.
novel, I write under the name Andrew Culture, which is a band thing because I can explain it super quick. In my town,
Hmm.
there was at one time there was like 80 odd bands, and there's only about 60,000 people in this town. I live in a place called Ipswich, and we used to call each other by our band names. So I was in a band
Hmm.
called Junk Culture, so everyone called me Andrew Culture, and I had a friend called Ricky, and he was in a band called Red Flag, so he was Ricky Flag. So I
Okay.
write fiction underneath the name Andrew Culture. But my first novel, when I looked at the American reviews, they said things like, "Oh, this humor's too British. I don't understand it," and
Hmm.
things like that. But I can see some of it. It might be a little bit weird, but no, I write stuff that to make people laugh usually, which
Well,
is
I mean, everyone needs a laugh.
everyone does. But if you write
Bumps.
comedy, it ruins it for you because you
Really?
can't. Yeah, you can't read comedy ever again without sort of see. It's like seeing like if you like magic tricks, when you
Hmm.
find out how they're done, it kind of spoils it a bit. You're like,
Yeah. Okay. Okay. That
yeah. So
makes
it's a little
sense.
bit like that if you write comedy.
I think I could agree with that from when I was a lot younger. I was always like Comedy Central over here
Mhm.
was
Yep.
always having like stand-up shows, and I would watch the good and the bad,
Mhm.
comedians to the point like I kind of had to back away from comedy for a while because I felt like I kind of heard it all, for a bit. It's like I don't know if it's they just played so many mediocre and bad comedians that I was just like it killed the mood for me,
You
for a
start to see
while.
you start to see patterns in it as well.
Yes,
If you watch a
definitely.
lot of stand up, you see what people are doing. The classic thing. I don't want to spoil comedy for everyone, but if a comedian, especially a stand up, gets a laugh early on, he'll always go back to that joke several times.
Yes.
And once you see that, you start to go, oh, okay, and then you start to take it apart, which is a little bit like kind of being impressed by someone playing guitar and then deciding you need to build your own guitar to understand metal. It doesn't make
Mhm.
any sense. You're probably just going to spoil it for yourself.
That's very true. That makes sense. So Britain and Ipswich, you said?
Ipswich, yeah. We remember how to spell it by saying, I put some water in Charlie's hat. And our nearest city apart from London is Norwich. And we remember how to spell that, which is knickers off ready when I come home. Which is about
All
the most
right.
British thing I could have said, I think, isn't it?
I like it. That's knickers off ready when I come home. Hey babe, you hear that? Nothing. Uh, so Ipswich, born and raised?
Yeah, lived kind of nearby here my whole time. I grew up in a little village, and like a lot of
Okay.
people in my village, when I got a driving license, I left. Pretty much, I
Yeah.
was
Oh
out of
yeah.
there. I think that's the way it goes for a lot of people.
I
Um,
would agree.
I live in a little Victorian terraced house, which is the room I'm in is the old toilet. I took the toilet out, and I've got a desk in there. But that I can touch both walls if I put my arms out like this.
Okay. Yeah,
And
yeah, yeah.
the whole house is about 3.5 meters wide, so
Hmm.
and goes back about. So I'm trying to convert that into feet. They didn't teach us imperial, like feet and inches when I was at school. They decided Britain went metric in 71, I think. And by the time I got to school, they were like, hey, everyone's had enough to kind of figure it out. We'll stop teaching them feet and inches. But yeah, basically these houses, there are tens of thousands of them, even in this town. And they are all exactly the same. They were all built our one was built in 1882. And they're basically two rooms downstairs, 2 rooms upstairs, and then a little bit on the back, which I'm in. So this is the way most people live around here. And they're still quite expensive. Property in the UK is insanely expensive.
Yeah.
There's houses on the other side of the road from me, which are slightly bigger because this is such an old part of town. We're on a hill and there's some docks at the bottom.
Yeah.
The houses by the docks are tiny and cheap. And the ones a little bit further up where we are a little more expensive, a little bit bigger, and they get bigger and more expensive as you go up the hill. And the ones across the road, one of them just sold for £250,000, which is $350,000. And these are tiny, tiny little houses, minute little places.
Yeah.
So I don't know why they're worth so much. Sorry, I kind of went off on a tangent there, didn't I?
No. Hey, I'm all for it. Something's been going through my head because I speak to a few people from Europe. I actually just got off a podcast with some friends from Ireland, actually.
Oh, cool.
They actually said that at one point Ireland was named the most expensive place in Europe to live. And then the guy from Norway said currently they're like definitely one of the most expensive in terms of
Scandinavia
cost of living.
It's insanely expensive. I spent 2 weeks in the States, and I was there partly to write a book. I went we went from Plymouth Rock to Obama's first inauguration.
Okay.
Wrote a book about it, not realizing that many people have written far better books, so it never got published.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Well, there's a famous English guy called Stephen Fry here.
Yes.
Yeah, and he wrote a similar book at the same time. So we came home, I started kind of speaking to agents, and the agents were like, yeah, do you know what? Everyone's going to buy Stephen Fry's book. But anyway, the point was, in 2 weeks in the States, I spent less money than I did in 3 days in Denmark. Because you go to Denmark, and the first night we were there, me and a friend, same guy we wrote with, and we decided just to go for a burger. We're like, we'll just go somewhere cheap, just the cheapest place we can go eat. And for a burger and a pint, it was about $50. So I know that it's not just a little bit expensive. It's a pint of beer like Carlsberg, which is like gnat's piss. It's cheap beer here. It was like $10 a pint. It's just brutally expensive. I don't know how anyone can afford to live there.
That's crazy. $50 for is it a combo? Like you get the fry? It doesn't matter if you get fries or not. $50.
I'd want like enough fries to feed the whole street for kind of $50.
Like, okay, so no joke, for Halloween, we had Halloween 2 days ago. I bought we had a small little party with some friends, and I bought a whole bunch of pizza, like 5 pies, 5 pizzas for $50.
Right. So we had pizza. We've got Papa John's here, which I'm sure must be in America. Yeah, Papa John's. We got normal size pizza. So normal for me would be like 14-inch. Because they still do those in Imperial for some. So 14-inch pizza. And my daughter, who's 9, got a little tiny little cheese and pineapple, which is a rubbish pizza. And it was, I shocked you there. Is this a controversial thing?
I'm about to have to cut this.
What, the pineapple on the pizza thing?
Yes, that is heaven. That is heaven right there.
Okay. Well, fair enough. We're all unique, and that keeps life interesting. But I'm trying to think. That was one pizza and a little pizza. It's about $45. So England isn't very cheap either.
Well, I mean, if you think about this, also why a lot of Americans are fat though too.
I don't know. Do you know what? This is what people think. I've not met all the Americans because there's quite a lot of Americans, and it would take a while to meet everyone. But I've yet to meet any that are enormous. And I say I've not met them all, but everyone I've met has been charming and wonderful.
Well, that's good. That's hopefully more people get that impression because there are some people that don't. So you market, you write books, you play band, you're in a band, you do a lot of music. What else do you do? Or is it simple to say what do you not do?
Anything creative. It's all linked in some way. So one
Okay.
of my other bands we make a lot of videos for. I'm in a band called Dystopian Sound Collective, and we make videos for each of the songs, and they tend to be quite good fun. They tend to take a lot longer to make than the songs do, actually.
Okay.
But no, basically anything creative, anything that involves using my brain to make something, I'll probably be interested in. I'm pretty terrible with tools, more of a liability to myself than anything else.
Yeah.
Anything, I've got this thing, I don't know if it's a man thing, but I like using power tools that are slightly too powerful for me to be able to control. And it's generally a pretty bad idea. There's a lot of
My wife would agree. If we have a project around the house and I don't have the tool, I'll get excited because now I have a reason to go buy it.
I saw a T-shirt for sale in a town near here, and it was a black T-shirt, and it said in white writing, "He who dies with the most tools wins."
I like it.
I thought, yeah, I like that. I should have bought it, really.
Yeah, like I have a table saw, or excuse me, a circular saw that I don't remember why I bought it, but it stayed in my basement in the box for like ever. And then I had a reason to get it, and I was like, oh, yes, I got to use it. I remember being so excited. Yeah.
Do you do that thing where you've finished cutting the bits you need to cut, but as you've got it out, you might as well kind of find something else to cut?
Yeah. Oh yeah. 100%.
I was staying with somewhere in France once, and in a farmhouse that was being renovated, and it was a work thing. I used to look after or support people with learning disabilities.
Okay.
And one of my colleagues was deaf, and we were told when we turned up by this French guy in French, "Don't touch that pile of wood over there because that's what we're using to renovate this farmhouse." That wasn't me trying to do a French accent. That was just anglicizing it. But of course, my deaf friend was looking the other way, so I had no idea. And we woke up one morning, and he'd turned it all into matchwood. He'd burnt the whole lot. And we were like, "Do we tell anyone?" We didn't. And that was about 20 years ago. And no gendarmes, no French police have knocked on my door kind of yet. So I think I might go.
Well, I mean, they're going to hear this now. They're going to hear this now, and they're going to find you. I'm sorry.
Some French farmer's going to be like, "Damn it, those pesky English kids," which I'm sure a lot of French farmers think all the time, actually, because we are fairly pesky.
So tell me a little bit about Britain. I mean, as an American, we got taught a fair amount because my country and your country has a bit of a history,
We do have a bit of a history. There's a lot about England or Britain. So this is one thing that most British people don't call themselves British. I mean, they'll say they're English, Scottish, or Welsh, or Irish. Although Northern Ireland, that gets complicated.
Yes.
The surprising things about Britain are we don't have a constitution. We don't have an official religion, which a lot of European countries do. We don't have an official language. We only started standardizing spelling 100 years ago.
What do you mean by that?
Well, until 100 years ago, if you spelt a word, you just wrote it down how you wanted to write it down.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it's a relatively new thing. See, like in America, you had to make certain decisions, like what's the language going to be? And if I remember right, it was going to be Danish or German, but it ended up being English. And I think
that's news to me.
Oh yeah, well, because there's a lot of, you think Pennsylvania, well, yeah, there was a lot of Germans. There are more Germans than English people around sort of 16th, 17th century. But you decided against having a national religion because that's in your constitution.
Yep.
But basically, a lot of these things happened in America, as I understand it, because a lot of people needed to agree on something. Whereas in Britain, people don't really, no one's ever been forced into a corner and had to decide that stuff. So that's why we don't have a constitution. People talk about things being unconstitutional here, and it doesn't mean anything. There is no constitution. We are nominally ruled by the Queen, but she doesn't do
Yeah.
much these days, to be
Yeah.
fair.
Yeah. Yeah.
She waves out of a window every now and then.
That is news to me, because I would figure, as big a government as it is over there. I mean, you're definitely one of the world powers as well. That it kind of just comes with the territory having a constitution. I'm
No,
sure most of us, especially here in America or other countries, just figure that comes with the territory. That's
no,
wild.
not here, not at all. Which is why things get really complicated in the law. So if the prime minister here does something that everyone disagrees with, which the current prime minister is doing all the time, it's very difficult to get rid of them. Because like
Yeah.
if the president of America does something, he can be impeached, and basically the country can say, look, we don't want you to do that, naff off. Over here, nothing happens really. If prime minister does
That's
something no one likes, it's kind of tough really. He's there until
yeah.
his party ejects him, because we don't vote for the leader of the country here. We vote for, in America, you vote for the president, I guess,
Mhm.
as far as I understand. Whereas
Yes.
in the UK, we vote for our local congressman, as it were. We call him an MP, member of parliament.
Hmm.
And then those member of parliaments get to choose who runs their party. And that's the person who becomes the prime minister.
Oh,
So
okay.
in the last 20 years, I think only 2 British prime ministers have been elected. All of the rest of them have got their job in between elections. So that I always think that's something that does surprise some American people. We don't
Yeah.
vote in the leader. The leader's decided by people that we don't have any control over, basically.
That definitely is news to me, because I mean, like, our president is decided by the Electoral College,
Hmm.
and there's a fixed amount of electors. I think is what they're called, delegates. I think Electoral College delegates. I don't even know who they are,
I
to be
don't think most
honest.
people do.
I
I
don't
didn't
think
even,
so either.
no. I hope they
And
know, and they're not just making a decision without someone kind of telling them the
well,
gravity of it.
I could say the only one that I think I know, and I don't know if this was correct because I didn't look into it, but I saw an article the other day that said Hillary Clinton is a delegate now for New York. I don't know if that's true. I don't know
See,
how that works,
that
but
seems
yeah.
weird to me, because everyone in America votes. Well, not
Mhm.
everyone, I know, but the
Yeah.
people who want to vote, people who can vote. But then it's still someone who's unelected's decision
Mhm.
to decide who the president's going to be.
Yeah.
It's not that different then, really, to the UK. Is it?
It seems like it. Yeah. Because I know the thing that confuses me, and I think a lot of people are becoming more aware of it and trying to change how we do it here, is so the president, we vote for our state. Like, again, I live in South Carolina, right? So if a majority of South Carolinians vote for candidate A, the delegates could still give it to candidate B.
What?
Yes.
That's
Yeah,
wild.
exactly. Right? That doesn't make any sense.
So
That's
what?
the thing.
That I don't think I understood that.
That's because it makes no sense.
It doesn't. It doesn't.
Yeah.
I mean, so yeah, I don't think I have the answer kind of in either country really. I think any discussion that I have with people about things like this, with people from any country, kind of, we always get to the same point, and I always think, okay, well, what are we going to do about this? Can we change the country? Can we do? And I
Mhm.
think the answer is probably no. But
Yeah.
then there's one thing that could unify everyone, and it's 2 famous people came up with this as a phrase, and I think it can solve most of the world's problems, if not all of them. And the phrase is, be excellent to each other. I think just Bill and Ted. I think I think that kind of sums it up. I think
I
almost
mean, why
anything,
not?
and almost anyone, just hang on, stop a minute, just hold your horses, just be excellent to each other. And everyone should
Yes.
just nod and go, do you know what? He's right. We'll just be excellent to each other.
Yeah, because I don't want to get too much into the political thing. I've done that quite enough, especially with what's going on over here in this country. But when you talk to people with differences, if you at least take that step to talk to them,
Mm.
you come out realizing that you're a lot alike. You share a lot of similarities, and usually your differences can be discussed. And if you're open minded enough, and that's the big key, if you're open minded enough, you can come to some sort of agreement.
Yeah, I don't think anyone is 100% right about anything. Well,
Yeah.
in my opinion, being proved wrong is something that should be celebrated rather than something that you should defend yourself against. It's
Yeah.
kind of cool. I mean, if I think of all the things in my life that I was wrong about, and I'm glad I was wrong. When I was a kid, I didn't want to stop wearing a diaper, and my parents enforced that decision on me and helped me see the error of my ways. And do you know what?
Okay.
I'm glad. Speaking as a man in my 40s, I'm glad I made the decision to change my mind. And I can confirm that I am not wearing a diaper. Just got to tell you quickly, there's a company really close to here, and I might see if you Google it, you'll find it. There's a
What's
company
that?
near here that is a chicken farm, and they're called Diaper Poultry. And we see their vans all the time, and I'm amazed no one in America has like made a meme out of it or kind of at least put it on Reddit or something.
Wow. Yep. I'm okay.
Now, don't just on that search, don't do an image search, whatever you do, because the results that you'll get from that will be far, far worse.
Whoopsie.
There you go. Look, there it is. There's look, finest Suffolk chicken. Suffolk's the county I'm in here. But surely
Don't. Yeah.
someone must have. Look, there's a picture of a chicken with a diaper. I don't think that's them. I think that's
Oh
somebody.
man.
Website. That's on Etsy. Of course, it's on Etsy.
Right. Yeah. I'm not going to scroll down. I'm
No,
trying
no,
to keep
don't.
this as family friendly. I mean, you say what you want, but I don't want images. That's a whole different ball game right
No, no,
there.
no. I think as a writer, I'm fascinated by language. I really, really like it.
Mhm.
And the two most fun things I think that no one's really talking about is at the moment, all the kids in Britain think Trump's name's hilarious because
It
Trump
is.
Trump here is, I don't know, it might be there. Trump here is flatulence, it's farting, it's letting rip. No,
Really?
do you
Yeah.
not heard
That's
that?
not. No. Over here, Trump is like before he came around. It was more of like staking your claim. You know, like yes, I did this. You know, I can't, but something along those lines. Something along those lines.
I
It was
swear,
good.
I swear here, Trump, it just means fart. And it always
That's
has.
hilarious.
It just even in polite, because it's one instead you can't say fart in polite company. So I apologize if there's any of your listeners kind of just fallen off their chairs in shock. So Trump is like the polite thing. Like even my mum in church could nudge me and say, Andrew, have you trumped? And you go, oh, sorry. I mean, it's completely normal. So we've got that all British kids, and literally my daughter and any of her friends, if anyone says President Trump, they all like, and they all
Really?
and it's because it means
That's
fart.
awesome.
I mean, like
That's
clearly,
awesome.
but as I understand it, the other way around, Johnson, who's our prime minister,
Yes. Yeah.
now that has a different meaning in America as well, doesn't it?
Other side, but yep.
The other side.
Mhm.
Or
Other
as
side.
we had a rhyme for that, which I'm gradually teaching my daughter all the rhymes I had at school. And
Okay.
the rhyme, I'm going to have to stand up, so I won't move too far from the microphone. But the rhyme we had for this was milk, milk, lemonade, round the corner, chocolate's made.
Yeah, ours was fudge is made.
Fudge is made. Well, that's
Yep, we had the same thing, but it's always been fudge that I've heard.
So how did that travel? Because that's clearly that I was doing that
Because it's hilarious.
because it's hilarious. But I was
It's
about to say, how did that travel? But because I was doing that when I was at school in the early '80s, and but where I grew up, we had massive American Air Force bases,
Yeah.
like really, really close. So yeah, we had American friends at school. It wasn't that weird. Although when we got to go on base, it was amazing because they had like this thing called a Burger King,
Oh,
and
yeah.
they had
You had the Whopper.
they had this thing called bowling, like all these things. I can remember like I did my work experience. Do you do like work placements when you're at high school where you have to go work somewhere?
We had the option. It was more of like we learned a trade. Like, so I learned welding for 2 years.
Oh, wow. Really?
Yeah.
I know that
Yeah.
we do it for like 2 weeks. So
Okay.
to give you an idea of how weird it was, kind of, I was put with the security police at a place called Bentwaters, which hasn't been a base for a long time because obviously Cold War is over and everyone left. But so I was put with the security police for 2 weeks, and obviously we don't have guns here. They're just
Yeah.
there are some, but it's not something anyone has. And when I was working with security police, I was 14 years old. I was there for 2 weeks. And my second to last day, they were like, "Oh, we've got a treat for you today." I'm thinking, what's this? And they put me on an M16 refresher training course. As a 14-year-old boy. And they told me how to take apart an M16, put it back together. Then we went and shot some rounds.
Oh,
now,
yeah.
the context of this, there were guns when I grew up, but they were shotguns because for the people used for hunting. They weren't machine guns. Nobody here has guns. So
that's a big difference.
There is. There's a big difference. We only knew stuff like that from watching American films and kind of going, "Oh, right." So they're like, "Here you go." We're like, what do we do with this? This is wild. But the security was quite different then. I worked at another Air Force base for a while doing IT support. I looked after the computers there. And I'm not going to name it just in case because it's still open. and yeah, there's I could link back, but we this is pre 9/11, so it's a long time ago. But I had a competition with me and a couple of other civilians. One of them was an American expat, so, a guy who'd left America to move in England. And we used to have a competition to see who could get on the base with the worst ID, because they printed you a little photo card. And you had to have a separate ID for your car. So your car had its own ID.
Okay.
Incidentally, when I said I was 14, I did work experience there. They got the date wrong. They made me older than I was, which meant when I was buying liquor when I was underage, that was the best ID. Because people are like, "Is this a fake ID?" And I'm like, "It's not fake. It's an American Air Force ID."
Yeah.
Yeah, but we gave up with the fake ID for getting on the base when the one of the other guys got on base with you remember you used to buy blank cassette tapes, like C90s.
Yeah.
Used to get a little sheet of stickers. Remember that?
Yep.
He drove up to the gate and he showed the guard a little sheet of stickers, and the guard opened the gate for him, let him through. And we thought, I don't know if this is a good thing to kind of tell the world about or not, really.
Yeah.
I think the world is a different place now.
Yeah, that wouldn't fly anywhere no more.
No, not at all.
That is fun. So I got to ask a question, though.
Oh, go for it.
All right. So when you were 14, you shot an M16.
Mm-hmm.
Have you shot anything since?
Only an air rifle, which I think you'd call like a BB gun.
All right.
Similar.
It was fun though, wasn't it?
It was undeniably fun. It's
very fun. Yeah.
It is. It's a weird thing because I'm sort of opposed to guns, and I think the context in the UK is so different. I can't. I think it's foolish for anyone British to judge how Americans feel about guns, because there's just the context is. I could ask you what you feel about football or soccer, or there's no context. It doesn't matter. But I don't like the idea of guns. But that was fun to shoot. that's the weird thing.
It is. I was Army for a while, so
really?
I've shot M16 plenty. I own a shotgun. My wife has a small pistol. They are fun, but at the same time, I'm not that American that one, because they're expensive as crap.
I think I never considered how expensive they'd be.
Yeah, I mean, depending on what kind you get, and taxes vary from state to state. And then like registrations vary from state to state. So even though I own one, I don't want mine taken away. But like if, there's a lot of anytime something horrible happens over here, there's talks of, gun rights and gun talk and gun laws. I'm all for it, man, because some people shouldn't have them. There should be, some sort of license, some sort of training you're required to take in order to own one. I'm all for that because there are definitely some people that should not have them. I'm all for that.
But how does it work though? Because here, if you can buy a shotgun here, you can buy a 12 bore, I guess, which must be
12 gauge.
12 gauge, yeah. And you can buy them, but you have to get a certificate from a doctor. I'm pretty sure this is right. I don't think it's changed. You have to get a certificate from a doctor to say you are not a threat to anyone if you're given a gun.
How does that work? Well, like, what do you mean not a threat? Like physically, you're not a threat? or like mentally? I'm
Well,
like,
I see you mentally, like physically, not a threat with a gun. Like you've got jittery fingers or something.
yeah,
Like, I know my fingers just shake on the controller. Don't give me a no, don't give me a gun. Sorry. Yeah, sorry.
oh man.
Assume assume they mean mentally, not like you open it from the case and just accidentally throw it over a ridge or something.
Yeah, you're like, I'm thinking some, like 5'6", 100-pound guy. Like, I'm not a threat. Give me a shotgun.
Yeah, but yeah, now you have to keep them locked in. They have to be invisible. You have to keep them locked in a cabinet,
Yeah.
like a steel cabinet. There's certain regulations now, but when I was a kid, there wasn't. Shotguns were fairly not commonplace, but because I grew up in a rural community, I'll give you an example, right? How normalized guns were in the UK.
Okay.
Kind of Saturday mornings, from when you are maybe 10 years old, you can earn good money doing what they call brushing. And brushing is when the gentry, or the people who own land, when they invite their friends round and they go shooting. So they walk in a line with their gun dogs, so I hunt gun dogs everywhere. They're just amazing, incredible animals. But you get a line of what they call the guns. So they're drinking their port and their whiskey, and they've got their 12 gauge shotguns. And it's the kids' jobs to walk in front of them with sticks and bang all the bushes and all the trees to make the birds fly out.
Yeah. Okay.
Which seems to me incredible looking back that nothing ever went wrong.
Yeah.
It seems absolutely wild. Like, right, where's Mrs. Jones, where's your boy this Saturday? Oh, he's out brushing. Oh, okay. Can you explain to me what brushing is? Well, there's going to be drunk people with guns, and he's going to walk in front of them. I'm like, excuse me. This still goes on. It's still a thing. Brushing is still a thing.
Really?
Yeah.
Is the drinking part still allowed?
There's a lot of things in the UK we just flat out don't have laws about.
Yeah.
Yeah, like here, I cycle quite a lot, and there are no laws around cycling in the UK. Oh, there's one. You mustn't cycle wantonly and furiously on a pavement, so on a sidewalk. That's it. So there's no speed limits. So I can break speed limits on my bike, in towns, and there's just no comeback. There's nothing. There's just no rules at all. So drinking with a gun, just for some reason, no one's got around to making a law about it. So
hopefully, at least at this point, it's more of a common sense thing not to do it. At least if you got kids up there brushing, for sure.
Well, drinking here it's changed a lot in the last. Well, even in my lifetime, it used to be fairly normal here for people to go to the pub and then drive home. I mean, even when I was a kid, now it's just you just don't, because in America you get DUIs, don't you?
Yeah.
Which is, I think you can get. I don't know what the rules are, because I guess it's different state to state. But in the UK, to give you an idea, if you drive your car the morning after you've been drinking and you get stopped by the police, you lose your license for 18 months to 3 years. So it's not necessarily being drunk in driving, it's having any alcohol in your body, the day after. Most people, in fact, several people I know have lost their license from being tested the day after.
Wow.
Whereas in America, I think you can get more than one DUI, can't you?
Oh yeah. They're, again, that's a state to state thing, but you can get more than one for sure. Yeah.
And you're still allowed to drive. Yep.
Well, see, I don't drink a lot, and I definitely don't drink and drive, so I don't know about all that. I think, you get it unless it's suspended or you can get your license taken away. So, like, I would assume if it's your first DUI, you pay a fine, but you're still able to drive. I could be wrong though.
It's pretty much over here if you get caught. It's not just losing a license. If you're under 25, you have to take your test again. And the test here is now, it's really difficult. It wasn't difficult when I was a kid. It's difficult.
Some of the driving tests?
Oh, driving test is really difficult. It's even when I was a kid, it would take a lot of people 2 or 3 goes to pass.
Yeah.
because it's just, we've seen the size of our roads. They're like
Very small.
they're brought a band over from Boston, near Boston, a place called New Bedford, and we took them on tour with us in the UK.
Yeah.
And we didn't find out until afterwards how freaked out they were by the roads, because we're in like a minivan, and the roads are the same width as the van, most of them, and they're dug down between the fields almost everywhere. So you just bomb along, and you can't see if something's coming the other way, and there's quite often accidents and whatever. Yeah, we didn't realize our American friends are completely kind of freaked out.
Yeah, we got very open roads, a lot of space. That is one thing I meant to, the question that I was trying to get to earlier, but we got off subject. When you were talking about your house, how your house is very narrow and houses over there are very narrow. I've been wondering if, as over there, everything's become more modernized, right? With technology and whatnot. Has there been a push in the country to like tear down those old buildings to give more spacious stuff?
Yeah, absolutely everywhere. There's a friend of mine, his family's from a place called Leicester, which some Americans pronounce Leicester because that's how it's written.
Oh, really? Okay.
Oh, well, no, British people are jerks at saying stuff, not pronouncing it. Kind of, there's a place near here called Stiffy. Now a Stiffy is a you're smirking, you know
you know
where I'm going. That's not how it's written. It's written Stooky, but that's just British places and how. Anyway, that's a whole nother thing. But yeah, there's a place called Leicester, and he had a book about, there was from the First World War till kind of now, there's a lot of what they call slum clearances. Because a lot of houses were built really, really badly in Victorian times. I mean, this house, if the people who built my house, which is, well, it is falling down actually, we've got subsidence. So like the house is bigger than when we bought it because it's breaking in two.
Okay.
So it makes it a wise investment, I think. So yes, we had the slum clearances, and they demolish lots and lots of buildings and replace them. And there's a list of 10 things that in Leicester that if your house matched 3 of these 10 things, it was declared a slum, and you were legally evicted. You were put in a council house, which is, I guess, like a tenement, but here they're like really nice council houses. Okay. They're like really good places, most of them. So I was reading this list, and my house it scores on 8 of the 10 things. So to give you an idea of how bizarre these houses are, most of the external walls are only 1 brick thick. So you can pretty much, if you were really strong, you could pretty much run against a wall and get through it.
Go outside, basically.
There's no beams, no vertical beams.
Okay.
So the weight of our first floor is sitting on the external front and back walls.
Yeah.
And the reason it's not sitting on the side walls is because we share those side walls with 2 other people. So that means the attic, most attics here, this road I'm on, it's about 120 houses long, and it's completely normal. This is not unusual for the UK at all. But they, to save money, they didn't put bricks in the attics. So a lot of these houses, you can go into the attic and you can walk along the whole street above everyone else's houses. And what amazes me, they put walls in because it's a fire risk. They call them firewalls now. But the first house I lived in this town, we could go up into the loft and we could drop down into next door's house. Never did it.
But you could.
They were scary people who shouted at us all the time. So we didn't. Not that's the only reason. That wasn't keeping us on the straight and narrow. But these houses, they're not great. They're really not great. And there are some strange benefits, though, that we have carbon offsetting here, which you must have in America. It's like a big thing. And basically what it means is if a company pollutes a lot, and we've got a company called ICI near here who I guess pollute, they can buy carbon credits by improving other places. Okay. So we get people knocking on the door every now and then offering us like free loft insulation, free sheets to put over the windows to keep the heat in, and we get these balloons to put in, or just stuff like that. It's happened so many times. My attic looks like a hamster's cage up there now. we go up there to look for stuff. There's stuff up there. There's keyboards up there I haven't seen for 20 years. I know they're up there, but there's so much
They're
insulation
buried.
up there. It's just all just buried in
Yeah,
there.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah. So
Yeah, because no,
no,
go
I'll
ahead,
just
please.
carry on talking. So you've got to interrupt me, otherwise I'll just go on and on.
Uh, but yeah, I was wondering that because I love history, and from an American standpoint, especially when anything over in Europe, Britain, England is depicted, you get that it's like old cobblestone roads, it's
Mm.
like how it was and how it's looked forever. So I've always wondered, and I mean, like if it's for safety reasons, I understand for sure. If things are falling apart, you want to get it corrected. Makes complete sense. But it would suck if it takes the history away. You know what I'm saying? Like generations, further on, like our kids won't have. They'll be looking back at movies and pictures that me and you have taken of the cobblestone roads and the skinny little houses, and be like, when was that?
It does go, and it bothers people here as well.
Yeah.
Most towns have what they call a preservation society, which is it's
Yes.
not. Yeah, you have them in the States as well. And sometimes the things they're demolished for is appalling.
Mhm.
Really close to here. Ipswich is really, really old. Ipswich is the first town where there was the first recorded Viking invasion is in Ipswich. So
Okay.
there's history going back to, we are just down the road from Colchester, which was the original capital, was the Roman capital of Britain. So this part of Britain is old.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
In this town, we have 52 medieval churches. So to
Yeah.
give you an idea of like most of these churches have a part of the church which is over 1,000 years old. So we
Wow.
see old stuff all the time. Where I went to
Yeah.
high school, there was a medieval castle like a mile away. And
Yeah.
I know that castle inside out because every school trip was always, hey, we're going to the castle. I was like, oh,
Yeah.
God. Actually, the castle's famous now because Ed Sheeran wrote a song about it called
Oh
Castle on
God.
the Hill. Well, he went to my school. He's much younger than I am, but
Okay, that's cool. I mean, he's
but
a ginger, so I gotta respect him a little bit. He's my
he's
people.
do you know he's a dude.
He
I've
is
just
a
not,
dude. Yes, he
I've
is.
just got to say I'll just complete one thing, but yeah, they rip down Tudor stuff here all the time. Stuff that's
Yeah.
like 600-700 years old will get demolished to
Yeah.
put up like a McDonald's or something.
Yeah.
Sometimes
See, that's where it.
just
Oh,
rubbish. There was a
yeah.
12th century whaling station about half a mile from my house. And we
Mhm.
have a thing here where buildings get listed, which means it's like protected status. But we've
Yeah.
got so many of them that most of
Yeah.
them aren't listed. So they just get torn down when someone wants to build something. But so just Ed Sheeran, I sometimes get asked in interviews or like radio station stuff to ask if I ever did a gig with Ed Sheeran. And the honest answer is probably, because well, when he first, because he's from here, he's kind of
Yeah.
from where I am, and I've always put on a lot of gigs. I've been a promoter. I've always put bands on, and
Okay.
Ed Sheeran used to just turn up. If there was 4 or 5 gigs in town in one night, he'd walk around them all with a guitar,
Yeah.
and he'd knock on the door and he said, "Do you mind if I just go and do a few songs?" And everyone would be like, "Yeah, of course, help yourself."
Oh yeah.
So most people here have probably done a gig with Ed Sheeran, but he's
That's pretty cool though.
I say as a dude because he genuinely looks after people from around
Well,
here.
I mean, that's good.
He gets given tons of free clothes and whatever,
Yeah.
and instead of wearing them, he stores them, and then every sort of few months, the charity shops, like thrift shops,
Yeah.
in Framlingham, where he's from, where I went to high school, he gives them everything that has been given by companies 2 or 3 times a year. So these little thrift shops that are normally sort of full of just chud, just rubbish clothes, get this like designer gear for a few months a year, and then they'll get absolutely flooded and make loads of money for charity.
Oh, for sure.
He does a lot of really good stuff actually.
That's good. You can't knock a man for that. I don't care for his music; it's not my thing.
No, not
But
at all.
any stuff like that, can't hate on him. Cannot hate on him at all. That's some good stuff to be doing for sure.
Yeah.
So what? Say that
Oh, no,
again?
I was about to start asking you questions. I forgot it's your podcast.
Hey, no, dude. Ask away. I'm all ears. Let's go.
So are you still writing songs?
No. So in high school, I have ADD, right? You know ADD.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I was on Adderall, right? So I was focused and I could sit down. and I could write. And a lot of what I did, I still am, big fan of Weird Al Yankovic, right?
I saw
How could you not?
I saw him a few years ago, and I thought he was at a festival, and I thought he was there as a novelty act, and so I just went to go watch him, and he
Yeah,
was one of the best things I've ever
he's
seen,
great.
ever.
Yeah. So as a kid, I tried to do that. Like me and my friend Justin, like we were gonna be the next Weird Al, you know? So we were gonna do like comedy routines, comedy copies of
How
stuff and parodies of songs.
how old were you? Because when you say the two of you are going to be Weird Al Yankovic, I'm picturing like that thing where two kids stand on each other's shoulders with a big coat, and like it's going to ask if
No,
you were going to be the bottom of him or the top.
no, I mean we were high school, but Justin's probably my oldest friend. I've
Mhm.
known him since like kindergarten, like 5 or 6 years old. So I go way back with him. But we really got into it sometime, maybe even in middle school.
All right.
Like me and him have we wrote a small script, like a fan film of Star Wars, and he was just getting into special effects and digital effects and whatnot.
Cool.
So I wrote the script of that, gonna play the villain and all that kind of stuff, and he was building the lightsaber and putting the effect of the star, the lighting effect in the video
Yeah.
and all that kind of stuff. He's helped out a lot. If you watch some of my episodes, the beginning of my cultural episodes, I got that originally made from somebody off of Fiverr,
Cool.
the
Yeah.
website
Yeah.
Fiverr. And I love it. When I got it, though, I started to think you always want to improve upon everything, right? So at the end, it originally just had cultures around the world, and I think it like went into a circle, right? And then I was like, well, it's cultures around the world. So it'd be really cool is if as it goes around the globe and the world spins.
Yeah. Sounds pretty
And
good.
yeah, right. And he's very technologically skilled. He creates websites. Again, he does special effects on like short movies and whatnot. He's creating a video game currently as we speak.
Cool.
So he's very technologically gifted. And so yeah, he added the earth spinning and as it's going around. I love it even more, obviously, now. And so he's very much into that. But like the big songs, kind of like how Weird Al does, he'll take the biggest hit of the year, make a parody of it. So I don't remember a lot off the top of my head. I had, my own little notebook that I wrote all my songs in, and I lost it so many years ago.
No.
Oh yeah. So no, I don't write a lot anymore, but like if I'm ever typing out something like a story I do want to say, I still got it. I can tell I still got it if I wanted to.
Cool.
Yeah.
Yes,
What
it's
else
like
you
a
got?
muscle. No, it's like a muscle. It's anything
Yes.
creative like that. So
Yeah.
why did you start the podcast? You strike me just as sort of a curious, genial kind of just sort of person who likes speaking to people and learning. Would that
That
be
pretty
fair?
much is it. Yeah. I don't watch a lot of podcasts or listen either to a lot of them. I do now that, building a network and, that's how you get bigger and grow and whatnot. But beforehand, like I used to watch, the typical, I'm a guy, you're 30. So I watched Joe Rogan, right?
Mhm.
So I watched him. There's one here in America that I enjoy a lot, Philip DeFranco. I watch him. It's more Americanized than
A lot of the
and
good one. A lot of the good ones are though.
yes. And like anytime you watch one or watch any type of back and forth between people, you get your own ideas. Like, oh, if I was there, I would ask this or I would say that, right? So that's always been going through my head. And I remember I was at work one day and I texted my wife and I was like, hey, babe, I'm thinking about starting a podcast. What do you think? And she said, sure, go ahead. That'd be a good idea. And boom, that was it. That's how it started.
See, it's the punk rock of media. The kind of the thing that appealed to me about like proper punk rock. So when I say proper, I mean it's not punk rock here is seen as a 70s thing, gobbling on people, and that's not what it means to me at all. But the appeal of punk rock was, look, if you're going to stand on a stage and make a noise, no one's going to stop you. Just go for it. You can do what you want.
Yes.
And I think podcast is the punk rock of media, because you don't need anyone's permission. You don't have to You don't have to get some big record label to approve you. You just start
Mm-hmm.
talking, record it, put it out there, and see what the world thinks of it. There's nothing to stop you from doing it.
Yeah, and I mean these days, pretty much majority of us have a smartphone, and if you want, that's all you need to start.
Yeah,
You know, I
absolutely.
started with my Pixel 4. You know,
Mm.
I started just with this,
Um,
and you know, I've grown since, but that's all you need to start if you want to do it.
you've hit on something key there. You just need to start. I think that's the way with a lot of things in life. I
Yeah.
think kind of I see it sometimes as kind of through the band scene, through music. People are
Mhm.
like, oh, the classic thing is people say, I wish I could go do that. I'm like,
Yeah.
well, you've just got to
Do it.
start. Just
Yep.
you're not going to be perfect immediately. I'm never going to be perfect.
Right.
I'm quite at peace with that. But
Exactly.
I'm fortunate enough to have enough people who tolerate the noise I make that I get to do it. You know?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, like if you go back and listen to my first few, it's not what I do now. Like even whenever this one comes out, you're going to be like number episode 45,
Oh
46, maybe.
wow.
Yeah. You're going to be but even in that, so that's not technically a lot, but in that time frame, my show has grown. I would say it's transitioned 3 or 4 times. You know, like I've come up with a new idea. I've swapped from this to that. So it
Well,
always grows.
you come across as very focused. I was obviously this is the first time I've met you, and this is only
Hmm.
God. We've only been talking sort of an hour, so I
Hmm.
think we got to know each other fairly quick. But I was quite surprised when you said you had ADD because you come
Really?
across as yeah no
Well,
you come across as very focused and very linear, very kind of very not saying anyone with ADT isn't together, but you know what I mean.
well,
You're proper on it. I can't think else to put it.
so
You're on it.
I would it's very safe to assume you do not have ADD.
Me, I wouldn't have an idea. Wouldn't have no idea.
Have you known any, have you been close to anybody with ADD?
I have. I've got friends who
Okay.
we call it ADHD, but it's basically the
Yes,
same
yes.
thing.
But it pretty much is in my opinion too. If you ask them, I'm pretty sure they will tell you. If it's something they're interested in,
Hmm.
boom. That's it. That's all it takes. If you're interested in it, they can focus for days. And that's kind of how this is. If I'm put my mind to it and it's something I enjoy, I can go forever. Yeah.
Seen some
100% focus.
incredibly positive things from people with ADT who are very focused on
Mhm.
things. There's a guy near here who run a recording studio where Cradle of Filth used to rehearse actually,
Yeah.
and his focus is vintage recording equipment.
Mhm.
Nobody knows more. He is just the guy to
Yeah.
speak to,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
so yeah, I find it really interesting. Kind of, no, I've had several friends who are focused in very and God, the power. It's a bit like that kind of level of focus is what I kind of I think holds some people back because if it's something you really want, like high school. I mean, I sucked at
Mhm.
high school. You know, there's just no two ways about it. I did just no. I,
Yeah.
I had a blast, but I don't think anyone around me did. I had a
Yeah.
great
Yeah.
time. I wasn't a nasty kid. I was just not interested in being there at all. But kind of since then, you know, I've managed to make a life out of kind of
Mhm.
doing the things I want to, and yeah, I think a lot of people are only really interested in what they're really interested in. We can try and be kind of super polite, and a big part of getting along with
Mhm.
people is not just ignoring everyone around you, but
Mhm.
yeah, I think we all. One of my teachers used to call me a sponge. They say, "Oh, you know, you're not
Yeah.
interested, but so if it's something you're interested, in, you soak it up." And I
Yeah. Yeah.
think
Yeah.
it's the same with a lot of people.
Oh yeah, for sure. Because I think what helps me not only in just talking with people is a huge love. Like I think I mentioned it earlier, is history. I
Mm.
love history. I love ancient history. I love learning new things. And so obviously, when you speak to people from another country, you're guaranteed to learn something new. So there have definitely been times in doing this. If you look at like your numbers, like I'm sure being a musician, being a promoter and marketing, all that kind of stuff like you do, you're trying to gauge the attention of people that you're trying to market towards. Like I've gotten this many views or
Mm.
listens for like a song, whatever. And if it's not a lot, it kind of is depressing at times. Like, oh, I really like that one, but it doesn't seem like a lot of people do, right?
Sure. Yeah.
So there have been definitely times when it hasn't happened in a while, thankfully, but when I started, and it's going to happen when you start anything fresh and new that you're not used to doing, you start to doubt yourself. Like I would have a great episode that I loved from beginning to end, but it didn't get that big a reception. And you sit back, you're like, why am I doing this? What's the point? You know what I'm saying? But then,
that's the problem with numbers, though. This is
yeah.
No, honest to God, it really is, because some of my music I've put out has been kind of not that accessible. I mean, I'm trying to like make recordings of things and make music out of it, and even I've listened back to like some of the gigs I've done, and if I was in the audience, I would have wandered off probably. But there's one or two people who will buy or download anything I put out, so it's not many people.
Yeah.
But clearly those people must like it. They must think it's cool. They must think it's okay. And I think I wonder sometimes if you're creative or you just make stuff, it's sometimes very easy to forget that you don't have to be mass appeal. You don't have to be everyone's favorite. You can mean a hell of a lot to a small number of people. I mean, I would like to think I mean a lot to my mum, my dad, my wife, my daughter. I'm sure in this town of 75,000 people, there's a bunch of people who think I'm a jerk. Whether I've met them or not. But I don't want to be friends with everyone in this town. I want to have a small group of people. So I think if you're making something, forget the numbers. The impact on one person. You've had an impact on me tonight, Red. This is going in the long-term memory banks as a very pleasant kind of hour and a bit of speaking to somebody else. So there's your impact. With technology, you've made a significant impact on someone who is, hang on, I've got a big map on the wall. That far away. So I'm holding my two fingers apart. You're that far away from me, look.
Across the pond.
Across the pond, yeah. You are right. Look now, you are right. Yeah, no, sorry, I'm looking away and leaning away from the microphone there. But
it's all good.
Significant distance.
Yeah, I know for me, I don't let it bother me as much because every single time, like whenever it used to hit me, I would have still like another episode or an additional individual to speak to, right? And I would come out learning something new. And every time I'm like, that's why I do it. Just to learn something new. It's because of that. And I have to refocus myself at times to realize I started this mainly for me to learn, for me to see more of the world, because can't freaking go anywhere right now. And I just have to remind myself of that.
I've got like Holland, France, Germany, Belgium are like closer to me where I'm sitting than London is, and London's only an hour train. Think we can't go there. We're not even in. I nearly swore then. We're not even technically in Europe anymore. When I grew up, there was loads of money around. You said earlier about two people with different views finding out they're similar. There used to be a lot of money sloshing around that when you were a teenager in the UK or anywhere else in Europe, you could go stay with somebody else in Europe for free. And we did it. We did it with Portugal. My sister did it with a family in France, and it was all done. So people could. And now they're so close, but we can't go. we can't go. It's so. Yeah.
Yeah. See, that is one thing I envy you guys over there, because we don't have nothing like I can go state to state, but whoop-de-doo, it's not that big of a difference. You guys go to the next country over and different language, different culture, different everything sometimes.
Here it is from the UK, because we're a titchy little island, and it's obviously very easy. I mean, it's only like 20 miles from the bottom of Britain to France. It's like 20. You can see it. Literally, you can wave at France. You can see it. but once you're over there, the countries on what we call mainland Europe don't really care about the differences so much. Each year I cycle from the hook of Holland, so like Rotterdam, the pointy bit of Holland, I cycle from there to Antwerp in Belgium with a friend, and we go to a punk rock festival there, you know, sort of skate punk stuff.
Yeah.
And we cycle, we do it on our bikes. It's about 100 and something miles. And last time we did it, we knew we were going from Holland to Belgium, and we were trying to find the border. We literally stopped on our bikes and we were looking for the border. We're like, well, how do you know when you're in one country? And this guy came over and he said, oh, can I help you? Because everyone in Belgium and Holland is like just as absurdly friendly as they come across on, you know, on cliche. And we said to him, I said, where's the border? And he started laughing. And we're like, no, yeah, we just kind of want to figure out. There's obviously no checkpoint. You're just 1 minute you're in one country, 1 minute you're in another. And he was laughing. And we're like, why are you laughing? He said, we don't need borders. We're European. And I was like, okay, fair enough.
Yeah.
But I found out since that town we were in, some people, because the border is just there is a border, but no one really knows where it is. So some people try and claim they know where it is. And you've got things like people's businesses. You've got like a shop. You go into the front of the shop and it'll be Belgium. So that's where they have the cash register. At the end of the day, they empty the cash register and they put it in the back room, because the back room's Holland. So they're taking the money in Belgium, but in Holland, they don't have to pay tax because the money hasn't been earned in that. You see a lot of that stuff.
That's smart. I like that. That's smart.
You know, say we're talking about military bases earlier, and you're saying you're in the forces, which is a very British way of saying kind of the army, the forces. but I found out that the American Air Force used to sell off all their furniture. And I've got loads of it in my house, really nice furniture, and like fridges. Now, British fridges are tiny.
Yeah.
They're really, well, I wanted an American fridge. I wanted a fridge big enough to like house a family.
Yeah.
So I went to go and buy this fridge on an American Air Force base, and they let us on with our passports, because technically we're in a different country once you're on the base.
Yes.
I bought this fridge for I had to pay for it in dollars. It was like $20, like insanely cheap. Yeah. And I was really pleased with myself until I was pulling the fridge across this warehouse, and there was a duct tape line on the floor. And I went to pull it over the line, and this guy was like, whoa, 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 whoa. And I had to go to a portal cabin, like a little temporary building. And I had to pay customs import duty to pull the trolley over the line, because technically I bought the fridge in America. And I pulled it like 30 feet on a trolley into England. So I had to pay like $50 or £50 import duty to like bring it into the country.
Wow. I do know like a lot of, because we have a military base not that far from my house. Fort Gordon is very close. It's like the communications hub of the Army anyways. And so like if we get foreigners or, people from out of state that are stationed here, if you're going to live here for X amount of time, you're going to buy furniture, microwaves, TVs, game sets, all that kind of stuff. But it's a lot easier to sell it than fly it with you back home or wherever you are. So yeah, that happens a lot here. Whenever people go off, you can buy like a brand new 50-inch TV for like $100.
We used to get that. We had a lemon lot near the Air Force base here, which in this country, lemon lot means nothing unless you've grown up near an American base. And what it was exactly like what you think it is. It was Americans who had been stationed somewhere else would leave their American cars. Now, in the 80s and 70s, when I grew up, British cars were very, very small. If you see tell you what, a good example is National Lampoon's European Vacation.
Yes.
When they go to Britain and you've got John Cleese from Monty Python and he's thrashing a car with a branch. British cars were tiny little things. So if you saw an American car, it looked like a ship, kind of like driving down the lanes. I remember we used to get Hummers when Humvees were a thing. Yeah. They didn't fit on British roads. They'd turn down onto a little side thing, and it would be significantly wider than the road was. We're on these tiny little minis and things.
Oh yeah, I could see that for sure. Yeah, because we got minis over here now.
And you got the BMWs.
Yeah,
only a British person would go, no, they're not minis, they're BMWs.
Well, it says mini on the plate.
Not
That's
mini.
all I know.
You could probably fit a couple of minis in the new Mini, if that makes
In
sense.
the new Mini, yeah,
The originals were tiny, really like silly. They look like toy cars. They're so
Oh yeah,
small.
like if you watch any like old European film filmed over like it's like car chases, you know, going through alleyways and whatnot. It's fun to watch. It is fun to watch. Definitely.
This is why
Definitely.
we loved Ronin when it came out. Have you seen Ronin? Robert De Niro, Jean Reno, and Sean Bean,
Oh,
loads and loads of people.
it sounds familiar. I know I love Jean Reno. He is cool as shit in my opinion.
Oh
We
yeah,
don't have a lot of
definitely.
oh man, like him and now I have a fascination of Mads Mikkelsen.
I've not seen that. Or
Oh
him, or
no,
her.
he's
I don't
an
even know what
actor.
it is.
The
Oh right.
actor. Mads
Sorry.
Mads
I've not
Mikkelsen.
seen that movie.
He's a man. Yeah, he's from over there. I don't remember what country he's from, but they brought back Hannibal as a TV show over here,
Oh yeah, yeah.
and he played Hannibal, and he was phenomenal, phenomenal.
I
Sadly, it
think
got canceled.
it sounds like the name like Mads. It sounds like he's Scandinavian, and basically everyone in the world thinks that Scandinavians are just the coolest people on earth. And I'm yet to meet any Scandinavians that disprove that. I don't think any of
Really?
them. I don't think any of them are rotters. I think they're all really, really nice people.
That's Mads Mikkelsen. He is cool as shit.
Oh yes, I know who you mean now.
Yeah, he's cool as hell, man.
Yeah, yeah. So Reno, not Reno, Ronin. Sorry, the film Ronin.
And yes, sorry, he is from Denmark at least.
Which is tiny little place. It's cool, but expensive burgers.
Yes,
see,
apparently.
I did the comedian thing there of going back to something. Yeah, but we loved Ronin because growing up, car chases for us were Dukes of Hazzard. So you like Dodge Challengers or Chargers or whatever, but big cars that you couldn't identify with. They were just big American cars whizzing around, screeching around. So when Ronin came out and it was like your dad's car flying around Paris in a car chase, it was just the coolest thing we'd ever seen. Yeah. Well, that and the Italian Job. Of course, that's the famous Mini, the original Italian Job.
Yes, the original.
Not the second one. Yes, anyway. I've kind of gone off on several points there.
Okay, I'm pulling up Ronin right now. I'm gonna have to watch this because De Niro, Jean Reno, it's and Sean Bean. Before I watch it, does Sean Bean die?
Do you know, unusually for Sean Bean, he doesn't die.
Oh, okay, all right. Step up, even though this was years ago for him. I guess.
I can't figure out if Sean Bean dying in everything is because his agent's really smart and gets him paid, but for very little work, or because his agent's really bad and always gets him parts for his kill. But he was in a famous long running series here from when he was very young called Sharp's War. And if you like history, Sharp's War is Wellington era, so it's redcoats, American War of Independence, the British.
Yes.
It seems wild now that they thought bright red was like the right color to wear to
and then you just stand in line as everyone's shooting at you. Yeah.
Well, apparently they wore red so they couldn't tell when each other was shot, and it was a morale thing. Because if you were shot or stabbed and you're wearing red, it sounds like a very dodgy idea to me.
It is still a little,
But if you like history, Sharp's War, and it's sharp with an E on the end. That's if you dig kind of military stuff and history stuff, you might enjoy that because it's.
I'll check it out. I think I have a lot to check out because after this, I would love if you were to send me some of your music and your band stuff so I can check that out. You said you have a book. I'd like to check that out too.
I've just started serializing my new book on a podcast.
Okay.
And
yes, and definitely I would love to check out your podcast as well after this.
Cool. I will send you some links, Red. What is your name? Is that you christened Red or
no?
Or do you not want to reveal it? You can keep it a secret.
No, I mean a lot of people already know it. My actual name is Jamie.
Hello, Jamie.
That's hi.
Saying hello after an hour and a half of talking to you.
Right. But yeah, just being a ginger, all of us are technically born automatically with a nickname, Red. It just comes with the territory.
No, I've never heard it. I've never heard a ginger person. Here it would be, I've got a friend, it's Ginge normally. Got a friend. Yeah, Ginge for ginger. I've got a friend who
might be an American thing then, I guess.
I've not. Don't think I've ever heard it before. I guess Red probably wasn't your first name, but
Yeah. No. It's Jamie. Jamie. But yeah, I like to go by Red.
it suits you, I think.
It does. It definitely does. Definitely does. So yeah, Andrew, this has been great. I've loved talking to you. You have a lot of stuff going on. So here's your chance. You plug any and everything that you got coming up.
You can find pretty much everything I do by going to andrewculture.com.
Mm-hmm.
That's
And
it.
that's it.
It's a deliberately crappy website because I build websites for a living, and I want to build one I wanted to spend like 10 minutes building a website. So I did that.
Yeah.
So it's super, super simple. Hey, Red, if you're into history, I'd love to have another talk with you history, because there's so many gaps in American history that we're just not taught. We know
Okay.
that some tea got chucked in some water somewhere, but
Yes.
apart from that, we're a bit hazy on the rest of it. But I
Hey.
know a lot about English kings and queens and that kind of stuff. If you want to know, so it'd be good to speak to you again sometime.
Oh, dude, I'm absolutely down for that. A lot of time, or what I try to do after every episode, I love staying in contact with everybody. That's okay with it. I've yet to have somebody to say no for me.
Love it.
So that's a good thing. So yeah, and occasionally I'll have people on a second time. I'm all for it, because the one I did earlier today was from India, a guy from India.
Wow.
And, India's huge. So I've spoken now with 4 people from India, and I've barely scratched the surface of that country. It's impossible,
massive.
right?
Have you seen
Exactly.
the Meet the Patels documentary with
I
a
think
guy
I have
called
heard
Ravi
it.
Patel?
I know who that is.
There's a brilliant, it's on Netflix here. I think it was
Mhm.
HBO Max in America. It's called Meet the Patels, and it's him going to India to meet his aunties and uncles and whatever. And it's an amazing thing.
I have a lot to check out.
You're going to be busy, aren't you?
Yes. But Andrew, thank you very much for coming on. This has been great. Everybody, andrewculture.com, check him out. I mean, if you love metal like I do, and a good bit of you who listen to this, I know do, check him out. He's got some good work. I'm assuming. I haven't listened to it, but I have a hard time believing his crap is bad. I have a hard time saying it's going to be bad. So we're about to find out, and hopefully I don't regret saying that, but I don't think I will.
Okay, cool. Thanks for your time, Red. I appreciate it. Take care of yourself, man.
All right.
Cheers. Bye-bye.